Martin, I think you have such a wonderful name for being a Canadian. Beaver. I think that's just awesome.
Isn't that great? All of my relatives come from England. It's actually a Norman name, probably Beauvoir or Belvoir.
Wow. So coming to Canada was part of your name experience.
So that's right. Maybe they figured, well, our last name is Beaver. We'd better hightail it to Canada.
Oh, dear. Oh, we're going to have fun. I can just see it.
Oh, he's connecting the audio.
He is. He can actually hear you.
Martin Beaver. Oh my goodness.
Hey, how's it going?
Martin, hi.
How's it going?
I've never seen so much hair on you.
Wild man, huh? and this is trimmed, by the way.
It isn't.
Thank you. Boy.
We can't go a step further without my saying how beautiful all the things you are. It followed Leslie and Jim's video.
Oh,
you both sound terrific. It's so lovely.
Thank you, Martin. That's lovely. Thanks very much.
That's terrific. It's a great arrangement.
Yeah, isn't it? I love playing it.
well, you know Stephen Prutzman.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course. In fact, he was with us in Banff, right?
that's right.
For a little while.
We were all hanging out together.
We were
Actually, June was there too. June came
Yes,
to
she
those
was.
chamber music jams that we had in the cardboard Esterhazy Castle. Barry really connects everybody, doesn't he?
Yes.
And
Yes,
Steve had a
indeed.
wonderful violist daughter, Eloise, who read with us.
That's right. We played, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Haydn quartets with her.
Yes, that's right.
And she did remarkably well.
Yeah,
It was really great, you know, and not only among professionals, but also in front of an audience.
yes.
Inebriated though they were.
Martin, did you start young then? Did you start playing the violin first?
Yes, I certainly did. I started at the age of 4. And as the family story goes, I was asking for a violin from about the age of 2.5, saying that I need a violin. And my parents were both French teachers by profession, but around the house, they would listen to a lot of music. In fact, my father is still a church organist.
And when did you start the viola then? Because if you're a professional on both.
Well, I started the viola much later, and it was actually during my tenure with the Tokyo String Quartet. And what happened was that we were at the Pacific Music Festival in Sapporo, Japan. We had a quartet seminar where we would work with 3 groups. Now, of course, you can't play the Mendelssohn Octet every year. We sort of said, well, what are we going to do this year? And I said, well, you know, I would be kind of interested in trying out playing second viola, maybe in a Mozart quintet to start. And so I borrowed my wife's viola, which is the instrument I still tend to play. And I brought it over to Japan with me, and I played with a lovely group from the Shanghai Conservatory. We did the C minor Mozart quintet.
Oh, beautiful.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
We were reading in Banff, and then Martin says, but you know, we need a viola so I can play the viola. And I thought he was joking. I thought Martin was just saying, oh yeah, I'm really. You know, those people, we're drinking, and then suddenly he's just like, here, hold this. And then people who I trust with almost my life told me, Martin Beaver can play the violin and the viola equally well and crush it. They said grand slam on both the violin and viola. We hope that we will be able to see you in March. But
yes, indeed. Really, fingers crossed. I hope.
Because as you know, Martin was coming as a guest artist, violist with his students, the Viano Quartet. So it's so wonderful that we got to Martin's pedagogy so quickly. But June and I were talking, Martin, about just because you're a good player doesn't necessarily make you a good teacher. We know some players that are fantastic players that aren't good teaching. And so June and I were just wondering, what is your approach to teaching?
Well, I mean, I think first it starts with the fact that in my present situation as a teacher at the Colburn School, we're attracting really, let's say, the cream of the crop, the top level student. The fact that the Colburn Conservatory certainly can offer tuition-free an education tuition-free to these students means that you know, there nobody will be turned away in terms of need. We can attract students that have that kind of talent and the ability and the promise, but also the kind of students that we know, you know, over time we've figured out the kind of personalities that are also required to develop into a ideally in my view a well-rounded musician.
Martin, what at that stage of a person's development, what do you look for to help them? I mean, are you looking for, you know, stylistic things, or what is it do you zone in on anything particular that you can help a person at that stage who's already very good?
Yes, I mean, you're again looking for a level of technique, I guess you would say, a kind of an ease, an affinity with the instrument. There's a way that you can sense that somebody is open to learning. And
is it easier to work with somebody who has such natural talent, or somebody that is working really hard, but really is getting up there?
Yes.
Which one is? Yeah.
Yes, is my answer. Or I would say I would flip it around and say it's equally difficult. You know, with the students that are so incredibly naturally gifted, I think the problem that you face is knowing what to mess with and what to leave alone.
Yes, I guess that's
You know
true.
I mean, there are those students that you can literally build. You kind of put the pieces together.
The style of teaching is a little bit freer these days. Is there anything with this generation coming up that is different than when you were teaching 20 years ago or 10 years ago?
Well, what I see is that actually both the level and the many different ways of playing the violin and approaching the violin are changing and developing. I mean, you're seeing a lot more artists out there, and you think, how the heck are they doing that? And you know, or why are they doing that? In some cases, it's fascinating to see that with those kind of changes that we're seeing, that actually the technical level of violin playing on average is climbing higher and higher and higher.
Well, is it hard to switch from violin to viola? I mean,
it's not so bad. I think I would probably prefer to go from violin to viola.
Why is that?
That's the switch. Well, because viola is further.
Yeah.
Is further out. It's a kind of like you're here with the violin, and with the viola, it's more out here.
And then how about the piano next, Mark?
Yeah, right.
Well, do you have any real, you know, with playing the viola, do you have any viola jokes for us that, you know, everybody gives the viola such a bad time?
Martin, I'm sure has some. He's probably Xing the ones that he can't tell us.
Okay.
Well, here's one that's a favorite of a violist friend of mine, which is, what's the difference between a violist and a shopping cart? And the answer is, a shopping cart has a mind of its own.
What's great is that violists they propagate it more than almost anybody else, the viola jokes.
Yes, indeed, they do.
They have a good sense of humor.
And I think there are two distinct types of violists. There are either violists that truly embrace and enjoy the viola jokes, or there are those that are completely disgusted and offended by them. So to those, I apologize.
Well, you know, June, when Martin and I were serving on the jury of the last Banff International String Quartet competition, Martin impressed us all, not only with his incredible playing in the evenings and his very astute observations when we were discussing the quartets, but his ability to completely unglue everybody with just one well-timed remark. And I remember the first thing that we had some violists, some very prominent violists in Nobuki Imai and of course Julian and Ansel, and they were saying, and I remember Martin just testing out the waters a little bit with a couple of little barbs about viola, and they were in stitches. And because of that, Martin and I looked around, we were like, yeah, this is going to work out all right.
It opened up the floodgates.
Well, now that you're the two of you together and talking about the Banff being judges, do you have any secrets about the judging that you want to share with me? I won't tell anybody.
Oh, let me get my book. No,
I don't know that there are any secrets to share. I mean,
you just
the reality of it is that being a jury member, you know, when they call you and invite you, you think, oh, great, this will be so much fun. This is going to be fascinating. And it is. But again, the flip side there is that it's terrifying, and it's such a big responsibility to attempt to come with your colleagues to consensus about a group. And at this level, you know, you're listening to a small number of quartets, each of whom is remarkably qualified. Yeah.
Very cool.
You're saying, okay, I like this a little bit more than I like that, or, you know, and, you know, what I generally try to do, I would say in any competition setting is obviously there are groups that I like more because they're doing things that match what, you know, how I would see the music. Mm-hmm. I try to tell myself to look for something that I don't like there, and I actually tell myself to try to come to appreciate more about the groups with whom I have very little in common.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say.
Well, that's,
you know what, does that might sound a little weird, but
no,
you know,
it's not.
In a way, I try to maintain objectivity that way by kind of, you know, turning the tables.
No, it makes perfect sense.
You know, June, in some ways, it's almost like when you're at a restaurant and you're like, well, you know, rhubarb. I don't know about rhubarb, right? But in the chef's hands, a really somebody who really has mastered the craft and loves rhubarb, they can make a case for rhubarb in such a way that opens up one's mind. And what I think I agree with Martin, for me, it's really checking that at the door, saying like, I don't care if my preconceptions about rhubarb or about this treatment of, you know, a souffle or whatever, I'm going to put that aside and really look at the entire picture. Right. And I think that's one of the things that the jury really coalesced upon, I think, is that it was the entire curatorial experience of, is this an architecture? Did they understand everything that they're putting together? How compelling is the entire dish, so to speak? Is it lunchtime? Why am I talking about food all day?
And sometimes also you look at it even more simplistically, and you simply say, well, based on what I just heard, would I want to hear them again, or would I shell out money for tickets, or you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because I was an audience member, and you know, I think the thing is, do I want to hear them again?
Right.
You know, I think that's the whole presence, the presence of the quartet. Sure. Kind of presence they have. There's something just very subtle about that, isn't there?
Yes.
And, you know, I did that as a yardstick. You know, do I want to hear those people again?
Although I must disagree with you, June. You were no mere audience member. with your acumen that you've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, she's got a great ear, Martin. When I say, I really would like to bring this artist, and June will be like, well, yeah, you know, we had them, you know, and I'll be, oh, I got it, right? And
long time ago.
we had them past tense.
And that's one thing that Barry did so well at Banff, I think, is that everybody was so invested. The way that it was created was that everybody felt involved and motivated to participate. right? I mean,
Sure.
from audience members up to the jury, everybody was into that entire ethos of support and of true listening.
It really does. It really does have a spirit of community about it. And I know that there are folks that have been going to the competition faithfully for years, and it's fascinating. I mean, I rode with Phil Setzer in the airport shuttle from Calgary. I had arrived from Japan and he from New York, and you know, we were surrounded of course by quartetophiles that were in the bus, and you know, there was such a great feeling about it. And you know, for me, perhaps the only moments where that disappeared were when we were actually called upon to make a decision, and not from the fault of the audience or the fans, but it was just the duty that was placed on us. And all of a sudden, you know, we would sometimes file into the hall to listen to the quartets, and you know, I remember saying hi to you, June, a couple of times, and you know, we would talk to the audience, you know, how are you doing, and you know, that sort of thing. But then, you know, decision time comes, and then it's like,
yeah.
Well, they take it. You take it seriously, and the audience takes it seriously. I have to tell you the story. When I was there a few years ago, a woman came up to me. I think it was after breakfast, and she said with this serious face, "Have you heard the news?" And I thought, oh my goodness, the Queen has died or something. So really monumental. And she said, oh, that quartet wasn't invited back. And I thought, wow, they really take it seriously.
yes.
I can't get over June Martin's incredible beard. I just didn't know he had it in him. I got to tell you, if I don't shave 7 days, just like, you know, I'll have like 6 hairs sticking out of my face like this. I have about 6 follicles that are just so enthusiastic. They're like, we can do it. And then the rest of my face is like, yeah, go for it. Just don't look back. We got you. We got you. And then so I shave every day, Martin. Otherwise, I would have no friends. Literally, I'd be the strangest looking man on the planet.
I do have to point out, though, that this is not a COVID beard. This beard started December 18th. That was the last day that I formally shaved.
Oh.
Well, this is turning into a guy thing, so we better move on to...
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's funny because I was watching the video with Leslie and Jim, and you were talking about, are you a Gillette man or whatever? Yeah. And actually, if you only knew, I could send you a picture of my cabinet. I have over 40 double-edged razors. This is an old Gillette.
Wow.
But I used it this morning, and this is my birth razor. It's from the 4th quarter of 1967. It's a slim adjustable. I got big into traditional wet shaving quite a few years ago. And so this beard is actually a source of great conflict for me, because I look at my razors and brushes and soaps and creams, and I think, oh, gee, you know, but my wife and my 2 daughters like the beard. So
there you go. Oh.
And I think with all that gray in it, my students are paying a little more attention to me.
Oh, it has a distinction to it.
It has that effect. It's like, I know what I'm talking about.
That's an old Gillette. Does that mean it only has 1 blade? Because every year it seems they add another blade. They have 7 blades.
So it's those blades that you put in, the double edged. So there are 2 edges to it, and you just flip it around. But
you know, something like that in my hands is like giving me a Lamborghini, and I only live in a zone that goes 20 kilometers an hour. So I don't know anything that you just said. I'm just nodding.
I see. So
very cool.
You need Gillette's latest 6-blade shaver, 1 for each hair, right?
Yeah, 1 for each. You know, we do this game, June and I. We've been kind of devising these jam sessions as they go, and I wondered if you'd be open to running through one of these games with us.
Absolutely. But before we do, I want to commend you on that jam session title. That's genius.
Adrian.
Genius. Well, if you did this live from the Academy of Music, there you could have jam from the VAM. Right?
What See, Martin and I have been texting pretty regularly, but I think that I need to restart it because, like, you're my wit reservoir. I need jam
Just
from
don't,
the
you shouldn't,
BAM.
you
The
just
BAM
shouldn't.
jam?
Uh,
The bad, yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Jam. Van Jam.
All right, perfect. So this is just a few questions with Martin
Oh,
Beaver. Can
but
everybody see this?
that's more like marmalade than jam, though, isn't it?
You
I
know,
like
I don't know my jam.
I like the color, though.
I don't know
very,
mustaches, beards,
yeah.
and I don't know jam, I suppose. The marmalade sessions, we have to come up with quite a few things there, but
Maybe
it could be Martin, Adrian, reciting.
It's June, Adrian, and marmalade.
Done. We'll do that. So check this out. And if your friend, Martin, happens to be in Los Angeles for just 10 hours.
Is this a hypothetical question, Adrian?
Yes. You pretend you're out of town, or do you say, cool, call me if you need me? Or do you drive an hour from your house to pick him up, have him over for dinner, host him overnight, and drive him back to the airport the very next day?
Well, I think you know the answer. It's that I would pick them up at LAX or wherever they happen to be, and we would have a great time.
I bring this up, June, because this actually happened. I just mentioned to Martin, I was just like, I think I mentioned to you almost the day of. It was like there was really no lead up to it, and I just said, hey, you know, we have an event on a boat somewhere. And he's like, where? Tell me where. I'll be there. And he came pick me up, and
where was it?
Newport, wife Mana cooked.
Newport Beach or something?
Where I don't remember, but we had to find. The only landmark I could find was like, I'm by a lighthouse.
Oh yes.
and you're like, there's about 3. It was like, but Martin found me. Your beautiful wife Mana cooked an incredible dinner, and this I wanted to do this so that our audience knows. I mean, our audience already knows Martin because Martin came obviously in various guises to Vancouver, but the last time I think for our stage was with the Montrose Trio. And for them to see this, to know that Martin, to his friends, so giving of his time. It's not like he wasn't playing like a whole Beethoven sonata cycle, like coming up, like literally.
Not that day, though.
Not that day. That's true. But it was coming up to the point where I was just like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" It was very sweet. So thank you. And I threw that question in there just so that we could.
Oh, that's very funny. No, that was such a great time. I mean, that was back in the day when you still had your knee scooter.
That's right.
Just saying how relieved I am that that's finally in the past.
Yes. Well, you know what? I mean, just as a quick digression here, you know, I was saying that Barry connects us all. Climbing up those stairs with the scooter, and Martin and Phil Setz are kind of holding my arms and steadying me. And then finally on the 6th day, Phil was just like, we got to do something about this. If you won't let me, and he's so nice about this, right? Because he knows I'll feel bad. And he goes, I have a surgeon friend I need to introduce you to. And I'm being selfish. It's not for you. I'm introducing you to the surgeon for me. I'm getting tired of helping you pull these stairs. It was so sweet. Do you remember what you were thinking about in this picture?
I was probably thinking, darn it, I should have kept my eyes open. But I remember the occasion. I was surrounded by Jane Coop and Jim Campbell and Marty Hackelman. We had a wonderful music in the morning concert that time, and that was when I was officially presented with the ex-Heath Guarneri del Gesù.
That's right.
Which I was very, very fortunate to have on loan from the Canada Council, and a very generous anonymous donor for 4 years. So that was really the start of that. That was a picture that was taken in Vancouver. I remember that. Yeah,
because his entire life, you've had the same hair.
This is way too much reality.
It works. It works. It's just it's been this way the whole time. So this leads to my next question. What is your stance on mullets? Never. Or in the middle, I go with the flow. Or third, it's the main attraction.
Actually, I've been accused of actually sporting mullets every so often because I have some pictures of my student days in my studio. But I contend that mullets have to be very short here and then, you know, business on the front and party at the back.
Yeah, it is.
In my estimation, all I had was just very long hair. Right? Am I right? Or
Oh no, yeah, you're right on the mullet. That's for sure.
so I would say, you know, I wouldn't say never, but I would say it's definitely between never and I go with the flow.
Perfect.
For me.
You know, for me, I'm starting to get one. I don't know if you can see, and I need to figure out what to do with that, because in some pictures of me, I look like Darth Vader.
That's not an Oklahoma thing, I hope.
No, I'm you know, Tiger King from Oklahoma. That's on purpose. This one's just because I don't leave the house. But.
Oh, it's looking good. Yeah, I actually I had my hair cut recently by my hairstylist that I go to regularly. The salon was not quite open yet, so he very kindly came to our house and I sat out on the back patio and he trimmed my hair. So
you look
Mark,
great. You look great.
That sounds like a Los Angeles thing.
That's what people say, but yeah, I don't know.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
Very cool.
Well, the next one is, and what is your stance on mullets while on a bicycle, while wearing a tuxedo, while holding a violin underarm?
Okay.
Okay.
So you did find this picture. Very cool. Yeah. So the story is, and by the way, that is a Gennaro Galliano that I owned before my present violin, just for the record. A colleague of my father's at Hillfield Strathallan College, and he was also an excellent photographer. So he did a set of promotional shots for me. He just had this bicycle there, and he thought, oh, just for the fun of it, why don't you you climb up on the bicycle? Let's see if we get a kind of a fun shot, you know?
I love it.
So yeah, I would concede that this looks a little more like a mullet, but you know, you have to remember this was the early 80s, early to mid 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was considered somewhat fashionable.
Very forward looking.
Yeah. Well, June, I was trying to remember what was the first time I did music in the morning.
Oh man, it was really a long time ago.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. But I remember you came out, you were in the green room, the dressing room, and you came out without your violin. And I said, oh, you didn't leave it in the dressing room, did you? And you said, oh yeah, it's insured. And I thought, oh my word, you had more tips. I just couldn't stand talking to you. I said, get back there. Don't worry. Not that the show wouldn't go on, but the violin.
The violin would get stolen, yeah.
It was so funny. I thought, Mr. Cool here, you know.
We're running a little. Do you have 5 minutes for us to do?
I have for you. I have 6 minutes. No, as much time as you like.
We'll ask you a question. Okay.
Why don't you read it over there?
Hey, can you see that, June?
Yes. Where have you had your worst dinner?
In terms of the food or the company?
Oh.
Either or both. Either one or both.
All right. In Piney, Manitoba, the ill-fated decision to have dinner at an Esso station in Sprague, Manitoba. And so we all ordered what we now refer to as the Sprague burger, which was this sort of very thin and very hard disc, ostensibly of meat, slathered in mustard, and it was truly revolting.
When I drove across the continent once, it seemed to me that going across Manitoba took days. It's a long province to get across, isn't it?
It is. It is. And they used to, I'm not sure if they still do, but they had these weird looking trash cans that were shaped like Sputnik or like a satellite. And the slogan, they were called orbits, and the slogan was "Send your trash into orbit." And I'm not sure whether they still have them, but this is from the 1970s.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next one, Adrian?
All right.
Oh, there's more.
Do one more. If you had a magic wand, what would you change and why?
Oh, well, I mean, in this day and age, there's a lot that I would change. I mean, if I'm probably wish for a longer fourth finger so that I could trill with it and vibrate properly.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, to be absolutely serious, I would, you know, eliminate COVID for good, if only for the selfish reasons that our concert would definitely take place in March.
Well, gosh, I've learned a lot today from you, Martin, and I've had a great laugh. I think it's just been
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for
Sorry,
joining.
some of those things you just won't be able to unlearn, I'm afraid. I apologize.
Hope not. Great.
Martin, till very soon. With
Okay.
all hope.
Take
Bye.
care. So nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Okay, but we're still here. That's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, so fun.
Well, I'm just trying to move my buttons, but yeah, we're done. Okay.
You know, I've just had a great idea. I think I'll commission a piece from you, Adrian, and Martin.
Oh,
A piece.
We were always talking about play. You know, June, that's such a beautiful gift. Thank you.
You guys work out the details of what you'd like and who you would like to have write a piece for you. And we'll go for it. We don't have to wait for any grant or anything. I'll just, okay?
folks. Oh,
Yeah, I'd love to.